Welcome to the LazyHiker Browser War 2011. We have 4 contenders today. First, we have the Heavyweight Championship, IE9. Second, we have the favorite of the geek, Firefox 4. Next, we have the Do No Evil Google Chrome version 10. At last, we have the space filler Safari 5. I only include the browser because I don't want to leave an empty spot on the screen. Round 1, King of Games. IE9 make the first attack using hardware rendering graphics. IE9 attack with Master of the Web hosted on their own website. This game is using JavaScript and HTML5 canvas. With their DirectX rendering engine, the game is smooth and fast, and I have a hard time catching the egg and get smashed all the time. Now we are using Firefox 4. The game is running in slow motion, and I have no problem catching the eggs at all. This is Chrome 10. The speed is almost as fast as IE9. However, the egg is now in front of my hand, and I have a hard time catching the egg. So it looks like they have some rendering problem. There's also a problem for the sound. When I try to mute the sound, it does not work as it is in IE9 and Firefox 4. So even though Chrome 10 is as fast as IE9, but it looks like it is a little bit buggy in running the JavaScript. And now we have Safari 5. The game is so slow that it's more like a slideshow than a game. And you also have the same problem with Chrome 5 that the mute button does not work because they share the same WebKit rendering engines. But of course, the test may not be very fair for Safari because I'm running this test on Windows 7. It's not their native territories. If I run it in Macintosh, it might get a different result. The result can be best explained using the Internet Explorer Fish 10 test. In IE9, the fish runs like rush hour traffic, fast and smooth, and it has a healthy 60 FPS. In Firefox 4, the fish runs like in a lazy Friday, and the FPS is unsteady. The fish in Chrome 10 seems to be a little bit more motivated than Firefox 4, but is still a little bit slower than IE9. The poor fish in Safari 5 seems to be freezing in the ocean, but again, it's not really fair because they are not running in their own native territory. So according to their own test, IE9 is clearly the winner of the King of Games. But how true is it in the real world? Now let's look at some games that people actually play. For example, this is Law of Ultima from EA, Electronic Arts. It's using the Kudos framework, which is a 100% JavaScript framework. So this game is written in JavaScript in the front end, and in the back end is using ASP.NET. The game is similar to Warcraft or other strategic game. You build a bunch of buildings and then you conquer the world. It's a multiplayer game. You play with other players, and it's like a board game, so it does not have any actions in there. So as you can see, it does not have, say, crazy fish swimming at the background or fallen leaves in the foreground. So it's pretty simple. It's like a map you can drag around. And if you go to the city, you can see there's a little bit of animation here and there, but nothing very fancy. And you can click on each of the building and then it will give you some information. The game feels no difference on IE9, Chrome 10, or Firefox 4. I can even run multiple instances of the game without any delay. The map scoring is very smooth. And these numbers here are updated directly from the server, and there's no delay in the update. It feels a tiny bit slower on the Safari 5, but most of the time it runs just as smoothly as the other free browsers. And it's only slightly slower in IE 8 and Firefox 3. Their performance is about the same as Safari 5. I spent a couple hours playing this game using the 4 different browsers, and I find IE9, which performed the best in the benchmark test, is not my favorite because yes, it crashed. But unlike IE8 and IE7, when IE9 crashed, the browser actually be able to most of the time can stay alive. And also, the IE9 version I'm using is a release candidate, but so is the Firefox 4 I use. They are both release candidate, but the Firefox 4 seems to be rock solid, and I never see any error when using the Firefox 4's release candidate. On the other hand, the Chrome 10 seems to be a little bit quirky when running the JavaScript program. Sometimes it has some strange error. Sometimes it have problem dealing with the sound. Most of the time it does not affect the gameplay, but still I prefer the stability of Firefox 4. Safari 5 share the same problem with Chrome 10 because they are using WebKit, and in addition it's a little bit slower. So my preference for internet-based JavaScript gaming seems to be Firefox 4 because it's more stable. So the champion of the benchmark test is IE9. So if you mainly use your browser to run the benchmark test, you should choose IE9. But the benchmark test usually don't take in consideration into like the stability or the usability. So for the real-world gaming, I prefer Firefox 4 because it's more stable than the other browsers. IE9 is my second preference. Chrome 10 seems to be a lot more stable than Chrome 9 on the JavaScript performance, but it looks like they still have some room for improvement. Next round or the next video, we are going to compare the browsers, the newest browser, on doing the productivity works. Please visit my website LazyHiker.com or head.net, which has absolutely nothing remotely related to the things I just talked about.